Steve, this wasn't a surprise. The president retweeted a criticism of Joe Biden wearing a mask last night, a mask which should not divide us. It should protect us. How significant will this split screen image be in November?
Good morning, Stephanie. I'm not sure that the split screen image is going to be significant. What I do think is going to be significant is the incompetence of Donald Trump's handling of this situation over its entirety. We can go back to the moment when there were 15 cases in the country. Donald Trump praised the Chinese response, told the American people there was nothing to worry about. We're cruising over 100,000 dead Americans, with many more to come. We have a shattered economy. We have 30 million people out of work. We have Great Depression levels of unemployment. And so when we look at Donald Trump's response, we've seen somebody who's told the American people that they should deal with this by injecting disinfectant. We've seen somebody who has lied, who has misinformed, who's melted down at the media, who has failed intellectually, failed mentally, and failed morally as a reader. And lastly, this weekend, it's a sacred day. And to watch the president of the United States over this weekend tweeting out political attacks, conspiracy theories, is just another example of his abject failure as president of the United States. And he has earned his place as the worst president this country's ever had. We've never had a president who has performed this badly in a crisis of this magnitude in the history of the United States.
But Steve, why would you think he would pivot? The president is a divider. The president mocks his opponents. That's how he got elected. That's how he rolls. Why would you think we would get anything different?
Well, I'm not sure, Stephanie, that I agree that that's how he got elected. You know, the truth of the matter is that if we go back to 2016, the person for whom the race was about was the person who was losing. In the last week, with the publication of the Comey letter, the race became about Hillary Clinton. She lost very, very narrowly, won a popular vote majority, lost the Electoral College. But I don't think the American people are voting for division. We've seen Donald Trump's poll numbers falling. We've seen him in trouble now in the swing states. And I think the American people are taking his measure and saying that he's not competent to the task, let alone competent to the task in the middle of a crisis like this. So I think those qualities for Donald Trump are innate. And so when we look at this moment, this is an essential time for politics because we're all reminded that this is life and death to decisions that get made in the Oval Office, and he's done a terrible job.
All right, well, then the election is 5 months away. What is going to be the bigger factor, the health impact of coronavirus or the economic impact?
It's going to be both. But look, 4 years ago, Donald Trump ran and he had two propositions for the American people. First thing he said is, I alone can fix it. And two, he said, I'm going to make America great again. 4 years later, the old Reagan question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And the answer for the overwhelming majority of Americans is the answer is no. The answer is no. We're at a moment of weakness in this country where the president is laughed at by world leaders. The country has never been more weak internationally than it is today. We are 4% of the world's population. We are the epicenter of coronavirus death. We are the epicenter of coronavirus infection. And if you get it, you have more likelihood of dying here than any other place in the world. We're a country that produced half the Nobel Prize winners in math and science since 1950. The response to this from the United States is disgraceful. It strips bare completely the abject incompetence of the administration and the failure of a former reality show host to be able to execute the duties of his office.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.